The intergalactic auction market sprawled across 3 city blocks of New Terra Station, a chaotic maze of cages, chains, and desperation. Every species in the known galaxy seemed represented, some being sold, others doing the buying. The air reeked of ozone, alien sweat, and the particular stench of misery that transcended species barriers. David Morrison clutched his daughter's hands tighter as they navigated the crowd. 8-year-old Emma on his left, 6-year-old Sophie on his right, both wearing the practical jumpsuits of colony kids but with an innocence that didn't belong in a place like this. He shouldn't have brought them, he knew that. But he'd had no choice. No babysitter available on the colony station, and he desperately needed labor for the farm. 3 months behind on the harvest, equipment breaking down, and his back getting worse every day. He needed help, and the only thing he could afford was a bonded worker from the auction. The legitimate term was indentured servant. Everyone knew it was slavery with paperwork. "Stay close," David muttered, guiding his girls past a cage holding a Tharkian, massive, 4-armed, perfect for heavy labor. Too expensive. He moved on, checking prices, trying not to see the eyes that followed him from behind bars. This was how the galaxy worked in the outer colonies. Labor was scarce, wages were high, and bonded workers were the only option for small farmers. David had sworn he'd never participate in this system, but poverty had a way of eroding principles. "Daddy, what are all these people?" Sophie asked, her voice small. "They're workers, sweetie. People who need jobs. But why are they in cages? It's complicated." David hated himself for the lie. Nothing was complicated about it. It was just wrong. But what choice did he have? They passed vendors hawking workers of various species. Strong Zeluran, good with machinery. Compliant Draken, excellent household servant. The casual cruelty of it made David's stomach turn. Then they reached the end of the market, where the problem workers were displayed. The ones nobody wanted, the dangerous ones, the sick ones, the ones who'd caused trouble for previous owners. That's where David saw her. The alien woman was chained to a platform, heavy restraints on her wrists and ankles. Her skin was a deep emerald green, her features humanoid but distinctly other, sharper bones, larger eyes that glowed faintly amber, hair that seemed to move with a life of its own. She wore the tattered remains of what might have once been armor, now reduced to leather straps and metal rings. But it was her eyes that stopped David cold. They held a fury so intense it seemed to heat the air, a rage that promised death to anyone foolish enough to get close. A sign above her cage read, "Zarathex, Warrior Caste. Extreme caution. Previous owner deceased. Previous owner deceased was code for this worker killed their master." "Keep moving, girls. That one." Emma's voice cut through his thoughts. David looked down. Emma was pointing directly at the chained alien warrior. "Yeah, that one," Sophie echoed, also pointing. "Absolutely not. She's dangerous. But Daddy, look at her eyes." Emma's voice carried the strange wisdom children sometimes possessed. "She's not mean. She's sad and angry, like you were when Mommy died." David's chest tightened. His wife, Catherine, had died 2 years ago in a shuttle accident, leaving him alone with 2 girls on a struggling farm on a backwater colony world. The grief had turned to anger, the anger to numbness. Was that what Emma saw in this alien's eyes? "She needs help," Sophie added with 6-year-old certainty. "She's sad like us." "Girls, we can't," David started, but Emma had already let go of his hand and was walking toward the platform. "Emma, stop!" But Emma approached the chained alien without fear, standing right at the edge of the platform where warning signs in 6 languages advised keeping distance. The warrior. Alien's head snapped toward Emma. Her amber eyes narrowed, lips pulling back to reveal pointed teeth. A low growl emanated from her throat, a clear warning that made nearby vendors back away. Emma didn't flinch. "Hi, I'm Emma. What's your name?" The alien stared at the small human child who'd addressed her with casual friendliness, as if she weren't a deadly warrior in chains. The growl stopped. Confusion flickered across her features. "Emma, get back here right now," David said, his voice tight with fear. "But Daddy, she's not scary. She's just lonely." Emma turned back to the alien. "Are you lonely?" The alien's expression shifted, the rage cracking to reveal something raw underneath. She looked at Emma, then at David and Sophie, then back at Emma. When she spoke, her voice was rough from disuse, heavily accented but understandable. I am Zara, House of Thex, warrior caste of Kalendra Prime. She paused, seeming to struggle with the words. I am prisoner, slave, weapon without purpose. Why did you hurt your last owner? Sophie asked, having joined her sister despite David's protests. Zara's eyes flashed with remembered rage. He bought me to fight, to kill in arena for his entertainment, to be weapon, not person. When I refused, he beat me. When I still refused, he threatened to sell me to worse masters. Her chains rattled as she shifted, so I ended him before he could end my spirit. That's sad, Emma said simply. Nobody should make you do things you don't want to do. Nobody should, Zara agreed, looking at Emma with something like wonder. But your species, humans, you make laws that allow this. You cage us, chain us, sell us like animals. Not all of us, David found himself saying, stepping closer despite every instinct screaming danger. Some of us hate this system. But we're trapped in it too. Can't afford legal labor, can't survive without help. He couldn't finish. What excuse could justify this? Zara studied him. You do not want to be here. No, I don't. But my farm is failing, my daughters need to eat, and I'm out of options. David looked at his girls, then back at Zara. They're right, though. You're not just angry, you're grieving. I recognize it. I'm sorry for whatever you've lost. Something shifted in Zara's expression, the armor cracking further. My world, my house, my honor, all taken by those who saw my people as resources to exploit. We fought, we lost. Now we serve those who conquered us. I'm sorry, David said and meant it. I can't change the system, can't give you your freedom. The laws don't allow it, and if I tried, we'd both end up in prison. But I can promise you won't be a weapon in my house. You'll be a worker, yes, but also a person. You'll eat at our table, sleep in a proper bed, and when your contract is up in 5 years, I'll help you find a way home if that's what you want. Zara laughed, bitter and sharp. Pretty words from a man buying a slave. You're right, they're just words, but they're all I have. David crouched to his daughter's level. Girls, this is a bad idea. She's dangerous, she's killed before, and we don't know if she can be trusted. Can we trust her? Emma asked Zara directly. Zara looked at the child, this small, fearless human who'd walked up to a chained warrior and asked her name. Then she looked at David, saw the shame and desperation warring in his eyes. Finally, she looked at Sophie, who was offering her a shy smile. I have killed, Zara said slowly. I will kill again if threatened, if caged, if treated as weapon. But, she paused, your small warriors show no fear, show respect, ask name, not just use. That is rare, unexpected. So we can trust you? Sophie asked. If your sire keeps his word, treats me as person, not weapon, then yes, you can trust me. I swear by the honor of House Thex. Zara's amber eyes locked with David's. But if you break that promise, human, chains will not save you. David felt ice run down his spine. This was insane. He was about to bring a deadly alien warrior into his home with his young daughters. Every rational thought screamed no. That one, Emma repeated, her hand finding his. Please, Daddy. David looked at his daughters, these two small humans who somehow saw past rage and danger to recognize grief and loneliness, who'd been through their own trauma but still had compassion to spare. Catherine would have done the same thing. She'd always seen people, not categories, always believed in second chances. How much? David asked the vendor who'd been watching the exchange with barely concealed disgust. For that one? 500 credits. Considered high risk, so cheap. But I warn you, she's killed one owner already. You buy her, any damage or death is on you. 500 credits was his entire equipment repair fund. If anything broke in the next year, they'd be in serious trouble. David pulled out his credit chip. Sold. The first week was tense. Zara moved through the farm like a caged predator, testing boundaries, watching for threats. She refused to sleep in the house, instead making a nest in the barn. She barely spoke except to confirm instructions, and she watched David constantly, waiting for the moment he'd break his promise. But he didn't. He treated her as he'd said, as a worker, not a weapon. She helped with the harvest, her warrior strength making quick work of heavy machinery repairs. She was fed the same food as the family, offered the same comforts, asked for her input on farm decisions. And slowly, so slowly, the armor began to crack. It started with Sophie, who decided Zara needed friends and would sit in the barn chattering about her day while Zara worked. Zara mostly ignored her at first, but David noticed she'd started positioning herself so Sophie could sit on nearby hay bales. Then Emma, who discovered Zara had warrior training and begged to be taught. Zara refused at first, but eventually showed Emma some basic defensive stances, always gentle, always careful, treating the child with unexpected patience. And finally, after a month, Zara joined them for dinner inside the house. She sat stiffly at first, clearly uncomfortable, but Sophie's constant chatter and Emma's questions gradually drew her into conversation. "Why did you become a warrior?" Emma asked one evening. Zara was quiet for a long moment. "On my world, warriors were protectors, honor guardians. We fought to defend, not to conquer. When the Dominion came, I fought to protect my house, my family. We lost. They died. I was sold." Her amber eyes were distant. "Now I am warrior without purpose, weapon without cause." "You could be our protector," Sophie said simply. "We need one. Since Mommy died, we don't have anyone to protect us except Daddy, and he's always tired." "I do my best," David said defensively. "You do," Zara agreed, surprising him. "But your small warriors are correct. This farm, this isolated world. You are vulnerable. Anyone could take what you have. Take them." She gestured to the girls. "If you wish, I could serve as guardian. Not weapon for arena, guardian for family. You do that?" David asked carefully. "Your daughter showed me respect when I had none, fed me when I was hungry, saw person when others saw only monster." Zara's voice roughened. "That deserves protection. That deserves honor. 3 months later, everything changed when raiders hit the colony. Outlaws looking for easy targets, finding isolated farms and taking whatever wasn't defended. They made the mistake of targeting David's farm. David was in the field when he heard the engines, 3 ground vehicles, armed men pouring out, heading for the house where his daughters were supposed to be safe. He ran, but he was too far away, too slow. Then Zara emerged from the barn. The warrior alien moved like liquid death, like every nightmare the raiders had given form. She'd found her old armor in storage, had apparently been repairing it in secret. Now she wore it, scarred leather and old metal, but still carrying the weight of authority. She didn't kill the raiders. David realized that later. She could have easily, but she didn't. She disarmed them, broke bones, rendered them unconscious with surgical precision. Warrior training meant she knew exactly how much force to use, and she chose restraint. When David reached the house, the raiders were all on the ground, groaning, alive but thoroughly defeated. Zara stood over them, breathing hard, protective rage in her eyes. Emma and Sophie ran from the house, completely unharmed. "Zara saved us!" Sophie cried. "They tried to break in and she stopped them." "I swore to protect," Zara said simply, looking at David. "I kept my word." David stared at this alien warrior who'd been chained and caged, who everyone said was dangerous, who'd proven herself more than capable of violence, and who'd chosen to protect his daughters instead of using the chaos to escape or claim revenge. "Thank you," he managed. "Thank you for keeping them safe. They are under my protection now," Zara said, and something in her tone had changed. This wasn't a worker stating a duty. This was a warrior claiming a cause. "No one touches House Morrison. I so swear by the honor of House Thex." 5 years later, when Zara's contract officially ended, David called a family meeting. "The law says you're free now," he told Zara. "Your indentured servitude is complete. I promise to help you get home if that's what you wanted. I'll keep that promise. We've saved money. We can buy you passage to Calendra Prime, help you start over." "No," Zara interrupted. "No? I have no home on Calendra Prime. Housethex is gone. My family is dead. My world is conquered. Zara looked around the farm, at Emma and Sophie, now 13 and 11, growing into strong young women under her training. This is my house now. You are my family, if you will have me. Emma and Sophie cheered. David felt his eyes burn. You want to stay? Even though you're free to go? I am not property. I am not slave. I am guardian of House Morrison, warrior and protector, family by choice if not by blood. Zara's amber eyes met his. Your small warriors pointed a chained weapon and said, that one. You froze because you saw danger. They saw person. They were right. Now person chooses to stay. David thought about that day at the auction, about the risk he'd taken, about the trust his daughters had shown, about how the most dangerous thing in the market had become the safest presence in their lives. Then stay, he said, not as a worker, as family. 15 years after that auction, when David died peacefully in his sleep at 73, it was Zara who stood at his funeral between Emma and Sophie, both now women with families of their own, both trained as warriors by their Aunt Zara, both running the farm that had grown into one of the colony's most successful. He kept his word, Zara said quietly, treated me as person, not weapon, gave me family when I had none, gave me purpose when I was lost. You gave us a guardian when we were vulnerable, Emma said, protected us when no one else would. That's what family does, Zara replied. What your small warrior selves understood when you pointed at chained alien and saw not danger, but someone who needed saving. Because that's what the girls had seen that day. Not a deadly weapon, but a soul in chains who needed a chance. Not a monster, but a warrior who'd lost her purpose and needed a cause worth fighting for. The father had frozen because he saw risk. The daughters had pointed because they saw possibility, and a deadly chained alien had become the guardian who would protect House Morrison for 3 generations, teaching Emma's children and Sophie's children the warrior code. Protect the vulnerable. Honor your word. Choose your family with your heart, not your blood. Sometimes the most dangerous choice leads to the safest outcome. Sometimes the deadliest warrior becomes the gentlest guardian. Sometimes 2 little girls pointing at a chained alien and saying that one is exactly the right choice. Even when, especially when, the father freezes. Because children see what adults have forgotten, that everyone deserves a chance to be more than their worst moment, that monsters are often just people who've been treated like monsters, and that family isn't defined by species or biology. It's defined by who shows up when you're chained and caged and the world has given up on you. And who chooses you anyway?